Welcome to Walking the Talk, the leadership podcast with a difference. I'm Robert Lloyd Griffiths, and in this series, we're stepping outside quite literally to explore leadership in a way that's less polished, a little more real, and firmly rooted in the great outdoors. As we walk through the stunning landscapes of Baenau Brycheiniog, I'll be joined by established leaders for relaxed, honest conversations about their journeys, their experiences, and those experiences that have shaped their lives, the challenges they've faced, and their hopes for the leaders of tomorrow. This isn't just another leadership podcast. This is an experience. Brought to you by Call of the Wild, specialists in experiential leadership and people development, Walking the Talk taps into something we all instinctively know. We think more clearly, speak more freely, and connect more deeply when we're out in nature. I'm honoured to introduce our first guest on Walking the Talk, Sharon James-Evans. Sharon, you're very, very welcome.
Oh, thank you, Robert. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you with us. And Sharon is the principal of Cardiff and Vale College, one of the largest further education colleges in the UK. And Sharon has over 30 years' experience in post-16 education. She's been at the forefront of driving educational innovation and empowering others to succeed. And we'll touch on that, I think, during our walk, Sharon. Sharon's not only a visionary leader, but also passionate advocate for women in leadership, having navigated numerous challenges along the way. And today she joins me for a walk up the Cribbath. And we'll talk a bit about the Cribbath when we're actually on our route, Sharon, because there's some interesting factoids which I've picked up. We'll talk about the role of education in shaping change, the evolving landscape for women in leadership, and her own journey from visionary to hands-on leader.
Diolch, Robert. I've got my boots on and I'm ready to go.
Lovely. Let's go. Sharon, we've walked up the first 100 yards or so, and I've just about caught my breath. How are you doing? How are you getting on?
Yeah, good. I mean, the views are absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, and this is an area you know quite well, really, because looking down to my left, which listeners will only just believe me, is the mountains at Merthyr, where you're from.
Yeah, absolutely. The mountains of Merthyr, beautiful Merthyr, on the edge of the reservoir and the beacons, which is wonderful. And of course, I used to spend many of time here in Penskin, a bird's garden.
Did you?
And Danarogov.
Just down the road, yeah, splendid.
Yeah, with school trips.
Yeah, well, there you are. It's quite appropriate that you're talking about school, because your whole life has been immersed in education. What was life like in those early Merthyr days on the Gurnos estate? Yeah,
I mean, in some aspects it was tough.
Yeah.
In some aspects we had a real good sense of community and good friendship around us. I think things like school for me, it was absolutely a catalyst for change and a safety haven. I think I've been open in the past about some of the challenges we had with my father, mental health issues, and we've experienced domestic violence. So for me, school was a place of sanctuary. And my mother instilled into us at a very young age that with education, you get more choices and you can change your life and lead a very different one, and that stuck with me.
And you've led a really different one. We'll come on and touch on some of those aspects of your life, but you've been, as you say, quite open and frank about the difficulties and the experiences that you've had at home when growing up. Can you just expand very briefly on that for us, if you feel comfortable?
Yes, so my mother was born, so we were born in Merthyr, and we lived in the Gurnos estate, which of course got all the connotations and that awful programme that was done called Skint. Yeah. And I got an elder brother called Darren and a younger sister called Karen. So we're Darren, Sharon and Karen, which brought around some interest and challenges and lots of laughter along the way. But we didn't have very much money at all, you know, and we experienced, you know, my mother's mental health as well as my father's mental health. And very often we moved from house to house, or we lived in a refuge, and we didn't know how we were going to afford things. We used to hide actually from the rent man when we were younger because we couldn't afford the rent. So it was a real challenge really, and it's quite difficult being brought up in that surroundings, thinking how you can leave it, or having any aspirations really, and or any opportunities outside of that place you were born in, you know. But I also want to respect that, you know, I grew up with some incredible people from the Gurnos estate who have gone on to do wonderful things as well, you know, that I think what it does give you is a sense of resilience and determination.
And I suppose the sense of resilience which has followed you throughout your life and your career and also a sense of empathy for others going through difficulties.
Yes, absolutely. I think, I'm really proud to be a principal of Cardiff and Vale College, but one of the greatest privileges it affords me is that I can sit around the table and make decisions, and we made decisions a while back ago to remove any fees, because I understood what it was like to try and find £10, £20 or £30. Some people think, oh, that's nothing. When you've got no money, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I passionately believe that education should be free for everybody. And as a college, we've got to open those doors and pathways and break down those barriers as much as we possibly can.
And now in the college where you are, you're breaking down so many different barriers, award-winning barriers. I know that you've achieved so much.
Yeah, I'm really proud of all my colleagues and the learners. We have broken down lots of barriers. We're very diverse. 33% of our learners come from black ethnic communities. Nearly 50% of our learners come from the most deprived backgrounds in Wales, and yet they thrive. Success rates are really positive. In world skills, we do extremely well. And I think this is because we've instilled a belief in our colleagues, and they come into teaching because they have a passion, and into our young people that they can achieve and they can be successful, and to raise the bar and to have those aspirations and to have people that believe in them and will give them the opportunities that perhaps they couldn't get from their families or from their backgrounds.
And I'm interested to know, when you were in school, did you had people that believed in you? Did you have the teachers, the go-to teachers, you thought, crumbs, I want to be like them, I want to start my career like they're showing me how it's done? Were there people that inspired you in those days?
Oh, absolutely. Mr. James, my primary school teacher, and then Mr. Powell was my English teacher, and he fascinated me because he was an Oxbridge graduate, teaching in Penydre High School. And I mean, I was there the year that we all went on strike and tied the gates with ties.
As a student?
All the students went on strike.
Were you leading it, Sharon? Were you leading?
I was actually in drama rehearsal.
Well done.
Because I love drama so much.
Yeah, of course you do.
But so he was just so inspiring, and he put on drama at A-level just for me and my two friends because we wanted to do it. And nobody was qualified to teach it, and he was an English graduate, and he said, I'll put on drama for you. And because of him, we did drama at A-level, and it's because of him I went to university and studied drama.
Amazing. So we've come from primary school to Penydre, we're looking at drama, and then on to university. I think we'll stop and we'll go for a little bit more of a walk, catch our breath, and then we'll re-pick up when you go to university, if that's okay.
Brilliant, thank you.
So we're back on the getting our steps in, Sharon, but it's a really interesting story about that transition from school to university. I don't know, did many of your contemporaries go to university?
In fact, quite a few did. When we went into school and we went into sixth form, a lot of the friends that I'd formed real great bonds with, and in fact still in touch with now, went to university, did really well. And in fact, some of my friends, the CEO of NTFW is from Merthyr.
Okay, that's the National Training Federation of Wales.
Yes, that's it. And the new person who represents the union in Wales, UCU in Wales, Gary was in school with me. So actually I think there's a resilience in people from Merthyr and a passion for social justice that tends to take us into political or educational fields.
And I suppose, Sharon, really, in one sense, you had people around you who demonstrated leadership qualities?
Yes. I think my first sort of drive to change things was when I decided to go into teaching. And at first I didn't have a desire or an aim to be principal or even a head of department to begin with. But I just wanted to make sure that people had good teaching. Because I thought if you've got good teaching, you get skills, you get qualifications, you're more likely to go on to live successful lives. And then once I'd done that, and I could see the impact, I wanted to have a greater impact. And that's why then my ambition started to change. I wanted to do more for more people.
But you just said something really interesting. You know, you could see that education leads to better lives. Is that really the golden thread that runs through your whole experience, your career?
Oh, absolutely. So Nelson Mandela says education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's your
I believe
credo.
it to the core,
Yeah.
to the core of my being. And this week we were talking about looked after learners,
Yeah.
close to my heart, the trouble that they experience and the outcomes are poor.
Yeah.
And if we're really going to make a difference to those young people, it's about giving them skills and education. Because once you've got skills and education, you can get a job and you can live successful lives.
I'm going to rewind slightly back.
Yeah.
University, where did you go?
John Moores,
John
Liverpool
Moores,
University, yes.
Good time?
Oh my God, amazing.
Yeah. Can we tell much of it online? Probably
No,
not.
probably
Not.
not.
We'll keep that. But again, lots of your friends there. You're still in touch with them now.
I'm very passionate about the Gurn Estate. I'm actually, I do some productions with a company called Gurnwell Productions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people there get written off
Yeah.
and get a bad press. And it is true. I mean, what makes my heart break is that the mortality rate in the Gurn Estate is 55 years of age.
Yeah.
And that just really upsets me that in today's society we haven't managed to address that. And when you look at health outcomes and you relate that to qualifications and attainment, there's a clear correlation.
Right.
So everything in my being is telling me that if we can make people feel worthy, if we can get them the skills and the training that is right for them,
Yeah.
which isn't an academic route in many cases, then they are more likely to change that trajectory that they're on.
Okay. Yeah, that makes enormous sense. And you had this in your mind probably throughout your career?
Oh, throughout. I felt that as I advanced in my career, I met people from different spheres.
Yeah.
I realised actually how little opportunity I had and how much I've had to fight every step of the way. And being a woman,
Yeah.
I think the fight has been harder, particularly in the years that I've been progressing. I do think it's better now, and I hope so.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is to change that and to look at ways in which we can give more opportunities to people from backgrounds like myself and worse.
Well, you're talking about your 30-year career. So you come back from university, and then where did you go? What was your first job?
Well, I was pregnant.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So that put a spanner in the works.
Yeah. Okay.
Dreams of the West End went.
Right.
And so I thought, I've got to earn some money,
Yes.
and I fancy teaching.
Yeah.
So I signed up to do some part-time teaching in drama and psychology. That was my degree was in.
Yes.
And I went and was doing my PGC part-time, which we still do in colleges now.
Mm-hmm.
And my first week, or my first term, I didn't want the Christmas break. I absolutely
Loved it.
loved it.
Duck to water.
Absolutely.
And where was this?
Absolutely. In Merthyr Vale campus, part of Gwent Tertiary College.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you still know people from there now?
Oh yes, in fact, the receptionist, last time I went there, the receptionist was still there from 20 odd years ago. And it's in all the valleys communities, there's a very strong sense of community and belonging. And I think that's really something in Wales we should be proud of.
Yeah, that sense of community is so apparent now in the work that you do amongst the community at Cardiff and Vale, because you're very involved, aren't you, with people from the local area, businesses from the local area, so not only society but also the general business community.
Yeah, so one of the most recent events that really made me swell with pride was our third iftar that we run at the college.
Of course, yes.
And we had over 150 people, women, men, children from the community attend, sharing food together with people from Muslim and non-Muslim communities and embracing the traditions. And that was truly heartwarming. And it reminds me that as a college, we're there to serve our communities.
Yeah.
And then in terms of business, I always say to business, I see it as our role to develop the talent that you need.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to offer employment opportunities to my community.
Yeah.
Because if we do that, then we're going to generate far better economy for Wales, far better sense of purpose for people in our communities,
Yeah.
and a far more representative and diverse workforce.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Sharon, you're at Gwen College. You stayed there for how long?
5 years.
And then after those 5 years, you went to...
I went and picked up some additional part-time work with Collingwood Ganwg at the time.
Yeah,
which
still in
is
the drama.
Drama and psychology.
Yeah.
And then there was a contract that came up in Bridgend College, full-time contract. I went for that and I got that position. And I stayed with Bridgend for 16 years.
So you're at Bridgend now. You start off in that position as a teacher.
Yes.
You move into a more senior role
Yes.
within the teaching arena, and then you move to a management role and leadership role.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So when I was teaching, I sort of realised that I wanted to do more, and I became very ambitious.
Yeah.
So I took any opportunity I could, really, to further my skills. So I did a secondment with the local authority, developing the 14 to 19 curriculum in collaboration with all the schools, which was very successful.
Yeah.
And after that, a head post came up. I went for the head, I got that. We then had a restructure, and they moved all the creative arts with performing arts, and I became the head of that. I then did a secondment to Eston, the inspectorate,
Yeah.
and then there was a change of leadership, and I came back into the college into a senior role, and I was in that senior role until I applied for the vice principal at Cardiff and Vale 9 years ago, and I became vice principal, deputy principal and principal.
So you've gone through the ranks. You've
Oh,
gone
I
through
feel
the
like I've
ranks.
done my apprenticeship.
You've done your apprenticeship.
I feel I've done every aspect of the role in college.
I'm interested, your first foray into leadership, what did you think about when you were going for that role, and what qualities did you think you had within you to actually successfully get that
Yeah.
job?
Good question that is, and I think what I felt at that moment is that I could do a better job than what was happening now.
Okay.
And I felt that the department at the time needed clear structure, needed vision, needed to be aspirational, and also needed someone who would empower and support and value the team. And I felt I could do that, and I'm really grateful then that my leaders who appointed me felt I could do that. And within a couple of years we had an inspection, we had grade 1 outstanding.
Amazing.
And we had one after that, and it was excellent. They don't do grades anymore. But now, even now, I'm really proud of the work I did in the creative arts in Bridgend College. It's still a really strong provision today, with many of the people I appointed still at Bridgend College, leading the way and doing a fantastic job.
And you said that some of the leadership, we won't go into names, we won't go to the people, but it wasn't up to scratch. And what could you see within those that just wasn't cutting it?
Where I've experienced poor leadership has been when there's been it's been very murky. There's been a lack of clarity, a lack of direction, a lack of aspiration, not really putting the learners at the centre of the decision making, and where people are trying to carve out a sort of name for themselves and not really thinking the bigger picture is we've got to do what's right for the people and the communities that we serve. So when it's more about self-interest and self-importance, and to be honest, I've experienced a lot of good leadership that I've took away some really good, valuable learning points from. But there have been times in my career where I've experienced some of that poor leadership.
And on the flip side of that, you just alluded to it, you just mentioned it, some good leadership. Qualities of good leadership in your personal lived experience have been...
It's having people who are open and transparent, people who empower you and trust you, people with good emotional intelligence, people who can see the lay of the land and see what's coming around the corner, people who are good collaborators and communicators. I think all these make really good leaders, and the best leaders I've seen are ones who lift others up and inspire others to become leaders themselves.
Okay.
And that is quite transformational.
It can be, can't it?
Yeah.
It really can be. You mentioned the lie of the land. We're actually entering to a bit of a different part of the Cribbarth. The Cribbarth is known, Sharon, as the sleeping giant. So it's called that because it actually looks like somebody reclining. So it's quite an interesting area. I can see it now. We're actually looking at ourselves in the front. We can see where the head is. and where the giant's lying down. So it's an interesting facet of this walk. So Sharon, here we are on the Cribbath. Now this, about 100 years ago, would have been a hive of activity. Hundreds of men, because it would have been men in those days, would have walked up, extracting some of the limestone that was used for the ironworks in the local area. This was part of the industrial dynamo for Wales. Incredible. Do you see a modern industrial dynamo for Wales? Are you hopeful for the future of those that you teach and those that go to Cardiff and Vale?
And generally by nature I'm very positive and optimistic.
Yeah.
I do. I come from Merthyr Tydfil, and to me it was the capital of Wales.
Yeah.
And it exported iron across the world.
Good.
After iron we had manufacturing such as Hoover's factory down the bottom of Pentrabach there. So we've always had a rich history of working communities, and work was... It wasn't only work. As part of that, you had a community benefit to it, whether it be a day trip to Barry Island or playing cricket down the Hoover's club.
Yeah.
So that I think we miss out of work. And I'd like to see, how can we put back more into Wales? How can we, create jobs? I think there's opportunities now in green technology.
Yeah.
And when you think of harnessing wind energy,
yeah,
like
well, here
today,
we are. It's a windy day, but it's a beautiful day. Yeah.
I mean, we have fantastic natural resources in Wales, and our best natural resources are our people.
Yeah.
And I think if we can attract industry to come here and invest in some of those industries of the future, in green technology, in sustainability, we can start rebuilding our communities around those industries and, get back to the fabric of Welsh life that we know and love.
And you must be really proud of the fact that the college has great relationships with lots of Welsh businesses and businesses from across the UK. But those in Wales who are employing some of your graduates, who are making a difference, who are taking on apprentices, that's another important opportunity, really. I mean, you've pioneered, haven't you, the junior apprentices?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you do that?
The junior apprenticeships. Well, we did 14 to 16 on a sort of release basis for a while, and it was actually Mike James who coined the phrase junior apprenticeships, and I said, right, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And so I set about, Welsh Government had come up with a Creative Solutions Fund, so I put a proposal on, and the Welsh Government supported it, and it's grown. So we've been running it now for 7 to 8 years. We've had 88% success rate. So these are young people who are read on what's called the vulnerable assessment profile, which means they're at risk of disengaging from school. They often have additional needs, or they are neurodiverse, dyslexic, dyspraxic. And basically the school curriculum isn't one that meets their needs. So we decided, well, let them come to us at 14, 5 days a week, doing things like automotive, catering, hair and beauty, construction. We also do a partnership with a Cardiff Football Club and also with the Wales Millennium Centre. Let's immerse them in vocational areas they have an interest in and teach them Maths and English GCSE. And the results have been extraordinary, and our success rate year on year into progression is 94% of them progress onto either an apprenticeship or onto a full-time course at the college. Can we guarantee them one or the other on completion? And, I had the Minister in to visit I had Vaughan Gethin in to visit some of our juniors last week, and this one learner had 15% attendance, and she's now on 90% attendance with us. There's another learner who came to us from the travelling community who has applied to Exeter now to do law. So this was a young person at 14 who hadn't been to school since year 7. And I just, I say to everybody, and people are probably sick of me saying it, we need vocational pathways at 14 for able learners as well as learners where the academic rigour isn't right for them. Because the skills that are needed in the future are mainly vocational and technical. They're in engineering, they're in IT, they're in digital. And we could offer that pathway to so much more. And what really disheartens me is that I've got over 5,000 full-time learners in year 6 now. 80% of them haven't got level 1 or level 2 Maths and English. So that
But you're doing
that
that. You're making a
concerns me.
difference. You're
Yes, but I think together we can do more.
yeah.
We can do more. And I'm talking to Welsh Government, to Merthyr at the moment, what we can do post-16. So there's better careers advice and guidance in all settings, but also what can we do in that 14 to 16 space to build on this unique provision that we've created in Wales.
And Merthyr being the higher education authority in Wales.
HEFI and NHE have merged together to one tertiary education now in Wales, yes.
It seems to me that this championing of those that otherwise wouldn't have that champion stems back to your early days in Merthyr, the Merthyr Primary School, in your background. It's again, it's that you see the kernel of those things to actually better yourself through education coming out now in what you're doing.
Yeah, you know, when you're a young girl in the Gurnes going to Pentre High School, nobody has great aspirations for you. You were told so often you can't achieve. And being a female in the 80s as well, you can't achieve, you can't do this, you don't want to do that. I remember they laughed at me when they said they wanted to do acting. And you can't do this, you can't do that. And why?
Why can't you?
Why? Myself and all these other people, you know, you got so much talent that is untapped. Because somewhere along the line, somebody has said, because of where you've been born, you're not capable or you're not able. And that's still, that disparity, it still exists. If you look at the success rates between those who have free school meals and those who don't, and I was a free school meal child, there's a massive gap. So we still haven't narrowed that gap, and we need to do more.
Hello, this is Beck from Call of the Wild. Before we continue with today's episode, I want to share something really exciting from Call of the Wild, our Women in Leadership online programme. This programme has been carefully designed to support women at all stages of their leadership journey. Whether you're already leading or aiming to step into a leadership role, this programme will help you develop the skills to lead with confidence and create lasting positive impact. Over the course of this immersive experience, you'll be guided by Linda Campbell, a transformational leader and culture specialist, as she helps you develop the tools to lead with confidence, drive impactful change, and build a thriving, inclusive culture. This is more than just a programme, it's an opportunity for growth, community and support as we work together to elevate women in leadership. So, if you're ready to elevate your leadership journey, we invite you to join us and be part of a programme that helps women lead in a way that is bold, transformational and has a lasting impact.
It's really interesting, and listening to you speak, you know, you demonstrate such passion and hope for the future of those who are under your wing, if you like. There's a lot of hope needed at the moment. We live in a very fractured world, geopolitically problematic, and I'm not going to stray into politics because I'm not a politician, nor would I want to be. I have great respect for those who are politicians, but we need more hope, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I think there's lots of hope, actually. I think we are going through the sort of digital revolution, which is happening at such a happening at such a pace that we need to make sure that we equip these learners with those skills so that they can be entrepreneurs or they can be the skilled workforce that are going to take us forward.
Yeah. Just up in front of us, you see these, they're almost like pathways, and it actually goes right to the top up there. I think that, are we going to walk up there? I think we might be walking up there.
I'm scared now.
So these are where the trucks would take the stones back down to the very bottom of the mountain. It's incredible, isn't it, when you think about it? You talk about the technology revolution, but look at what the men that worked here those hundreds of years ago, well, not hundreds, but just 100 years ago, had to put up with. It was tough. And another fun fact on the Cribbarth, this used to be all underwater.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a tropical sea environment being pushed up, I suppose, over millions of years of geological transformation. But it's funny to think, as we look down the valley, this used to be underwater. Incredible.
That is incredible.
Sharon, the creative industries is very close to your heart. Your degree is in creative psychology. You know, your first teaching role was in creative and psychology. And you've never lost that interest, enthusiasm, or even love for the creative arts, have you?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I think it gets even stronger.
Time goes on.
Yes, and it's an important thing, and I've talked to you about this before, Robert. Well, when you're so busy, and I am 100 miles an hour, you still got to find something as your outlet. Yeah. And people say to me, I'm actually in 2 productions this year.
What? Go on, tell us what they are.
I'm playing Shirley Valentine.
Oh, well done. That's one woman show, no?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, wow. Yeah.
And I'm in Abigail's Party as well, a classic by Mike Leigh.
Love that.
So they're 2 fantastic plays, which I've always loved. Yeah. But somebody said to me, well, how do you manage to do it? And I say, well, you might want to go for a run or a walk or a jog. Yeah. I like to pretend to be someone else on a stage. So, so that actually is quite like mindfulness. Yeah. Because when you're performing, you're thinking of the words and your stage movements. You can't think of anything else. Right. So actually, it's like a stress relief,
yeah.
Yeah, as well as fulfills my passion for creativity.
So Sharon, in Abigail's Party, tell me who you're playing.
I play Ange, who is one of the new neighbours who've moved in to into the same street as Beverly, who was hosting a party. And Beverly was played by Alison Steadman in the original screenplay. So really, it's a fantastic play. And in that one, I've got to have a London accent. So I've got to go from Liverpool to London. And
you've also become more active and done a range of different organisations. You chair It's My Shout.
Oh.
What does It's My Shout do? Just remind me.
It's My Shout has been running for 25 years. Wow. So I was involved in it at the outset with Roger Brunel, who set it up in Bridgend. Our students used to participate, and we still do. So basically, it's a training scheme which works with colleges and local authorities, where we use non-professionals from the community to star, perform, write, produce, edit, mentored with professionals from the industry. And these are then aired on BBC Two Wales, and we have a fantastic evening of celebration in the ICC in Newport once a year. Yeah. And we give out awards to all the participants throughout Wales. It's Pan Wales project. And we've had, over the years, over 20,000 people have been through the scheme. Gosh. Mainly from diverse and disadvantaged communities. Yeah. And you can't switch on a television programme now, particularly if it's made in Wales, and we haven't got an It's My Shout alumni.
There you go.
It is just amazing.
It's part of the theme, isn't it? It's part of Sharon's life.
It's
giving opportunities.
And it is. If somebody had had It's My Shout when I was a child, I would have been first in queue. Yeah. I would have been there. I might have had a different trajectory then. I might have gone into the film industry.
So, if you weren't, well, there you are. Just thinking about that. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing? It's
my retirement plan.
Is it?
I'm going to get all the old lady parts.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not commenting.
Yeah. And I can do all the extra roles. That is what I just love being involved.
Love being involved, yeah. Well, it's something to look forward to. Many years from now, I hope.
I hope so.
Well, Sharon, here we are. We're sheltering behind the top of the crib bath. It's a bit windy up here, but I hope our listeners can hear what we're saying. I wanted to just touch on a few things. But first of all, what do you think of the view?
It's absolutely outstanding. Yeah. I mean, Wales is such a beautiful country, and we really got to appreciate what's on our doorstep. And this is phenomenal.
So you'll come again?
Yeah, I can't believe I haven't been up here before.
Oh, it's certainly worth a visit. But I wanted to go back on just a couple of things, if I may. You talked about your mum. You mentioned your mum earlier, and I know that you said before that your mum is one of your role models. What part did she play in creating you as an individual and also an educationalist and also a leader?
Yes, I think my mother was absolutely fundamental and instrumental, really. And when we talk about, if you look at my background now, you'd say I was one of ACE, I had adverse childhood experience, and they say that the way you overcome it is through having one trusted adult. And I think that was my mother. Yeah. But what was so inspiring about her was that she went from having no money, we lived in a refuge, she had real poor health, she suffered a nervous breakdown at one point.
Yeah.
And of course, my father then committed suicide when I was about 15. And, you know, that's a lot to deal with. She had 3 children by the time she was 21. So that was a lot for her to deal with. And but she had some resilience in her. She decided she was first of all working in a clothing factory. And she was so good at her job, it became expanded the company, and they employed a man to do her work. But because he had a degree and he was male, he had twice her salary.
Okay.
So this fueled her, and she said, right, I'm going to go to university. So when we were still teenagers, she went to Treforest then, which is now University of South Wales.
Yeah.
And she studied social sciences. And she actually got first class honours and won a Student of the Year.
Amazing.
And from that, then she got a lecturing post and became a head of department. So I saw firsthand how education had changed her life and subsequently our life. And that's why when I look at my access, and she did one of the first access courses in the whole of Wales.
Did she?
She put the first one on, yes.
Incredible.
And so that adult provision is also important, because if you reskill and upskill an adult, it impacts on the whole family, which is what happened to my mother.
It's amazing. It's in the genes, really. It's, you know, we become our parents, don't we? We become pioneers, or some of us are fortunate enough to be able to do that. You know, we take the traits of what's in us, and it comes out in other ways, and it's come out in you in a very positive way, similar to your mum being a pioneer, being a role model. How does it sit with you being a role model for youngsters who you see in the college?
It's really important, and I didn't really value that for years. And for years, so the other thing you're aware of is that I am married to a woman.
Yeah.
So that brings other challenges of perceptions.
Yeah.
And for years, I wouldn't mention that. I was part of the community.
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk about it. And I tried to, you know, create a persona that I felt people wanted in a leadership role. And as I got older, I realised actually, the better leader you are is the more authentic you are, the more true to yourself. And now, being in this role, you know, being a gay woman from the Gurnas, I want to shout it out, because I say to all those gay girls or those girls or boys from the Gurnas to say, well, look, it doesn't have to stop you or define you. Yeah. And actually, it makes me better because I understand more of what that community needs within my own organisation, and therefore are able to, you know, instigate things, or I'm far more listening to people and their different experiences and addressing their concerns, but it comes from their lived experience and their truth. And I think now I have a duty to lift up others, particularly now you talked about the political environment, you know, in America, some of the abortion laws that are coming, anti-abortion laws that are coming in, and the community in America are facing real challenges. It's more important than ever to speak out.
And it's important to you to be that person that creates opportunities for others, and that demonstrates that you understand some of the difficulties that people go through, and that you can speak on their behalf.
Yes, I hope so. And one story that springs to mind was this young lad who was finding it very difficult to come to terms with sexuality, and he had suicidal ideation, and he was very depressed, and he felt he couldn't be himself. And he came to Cardiff and Vale College, and because it's a very inclusive environment, he found that he could be more open. And so every year we do the Pride Parade through Cardiff, and he came. And he invited his mother and his stepfather, who was very sceptical, who had a very narrow view of people from the gay community and LGBTQ+. So he came on a march with us, and two things happened. I'm walking through the streets of Cardiff, and we are being applauded and cheered.
I think my wife and I saw you, I think, that time. I think we did.
We were just, it's a round of applause, and, you know, the people of Cardiff were amazing. And he just said, oh my goodness, they're applauding me for being me. And I said, yeah, and he thought, and he felt proud. And to me, that's the first time the term pride resonated with me, because he felt proud to be himself, because so many years he didn't feel proud to be himself. And then the other thing that happened by the end of the night is stepdad, who had all these concerns, had a glitter beard, was dancing amongst everyone, and his total perception and narrow view had done a 180, completely turned around. And, you know, for me, then that reminded me how important that pride and recognition of pride and the celebration of Pride Month and LGBTQ History Month must continue, so that we keep bringing down these barriers, because they still exist. Yeah, well. And I'm worried about some of these barriers are now being put back up.
It's really important, isn't it? You talk about, well, we've got a plane going overhead now, which is rather nice. It's really
so lift home, Robert.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, we are outside. We are at the Cribbath, honestly. So it's really important. We talk about inspiring those who are your students, but also inspiring the leaders of tomorrow, really. You know, those both who work with you at Cardiff and Vale, but also those who are students today but will become leaders tomorrow. What's your message to them? Both, first of all, people you work with, and then also the students who will be tomorrow's leaders.
Yeah, I think leadership has changed. I mean, call for a different kind of leader now. I think leaders of today need to be very emotionally intelligent. Yeah. I think they need to be collaborative. Yeah. I also think at the moment they need to have sort of a system thinking, how each part interacts with everything else and how that can inform your business. I think they need to be open communicators, authentically themselves. Yeah. And I think they need to embrace technology, AI and all, and how it can be used to enhance the human qualities that we have and take on perhaps some of those mundane tasks and not replace. I always say with AI, in the future we want to employ, there'll still be jobs for people, but they prefer people with AI skills as well. I think we mustn't see it as a fear of replacing everything that we do. We must embrace and harness what we do so we can spend more time on human connection. Because I think that's the most important thing, that people believe in you as a leader, that people trust you as a leader, that people are with you on that journey, and that they are leaders themselves. I always think in my organisation, we're full of leaders. You know, teachers in the classroom are a leader, and it's our duty to treat people as we'd want to be treated ourselves, to be inclusive as possible, but also to be inspirational and show people there are more we can do and more we can achieve and things we haven't even thought of yet. And one of the quotes I got on my desk in the office by Mary Angelo is, "I've learned that people forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel."
Well, Sharon, you've made us feel really special today. It's been such a privilege for me to have this opportunity amongst your really busy schedule to talk about your lived experience, your life, and also your hopes and aspirations, both in terms of education, but also for wider society. So I've loved it. This has been a brilliant first podcast for Walking the Talk. There's going to be many more. I would encourage all of you who are listening to this to tune in for the further editions. But, you know, today has been a terrific start. So massive, massive thanks, Sharon.
Oh, diolch yn fawr iawn. I feel very honoured and privileged to do this walk and talk with you today. Thank you. Diolch.
Walking the Talk is hosted by Robert Lloyd Griffiths and created and produced by Call of the Wild, with editing support from Buffoon Media.